few, to make America the world leader on human rights and return nations to the path of peaceful coexistence. And see, this is what small men like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller will never understand. That our national greatness flows not through our blood or our genes, but through our ideas. Americans are not a race, we're a people. United not by ethnicity, but by our shared convictions, and that is what makes us exceptional and a beacon to the world. How amazing is it that the most powerful nation on earth proclaims as its core values that all are created equal, with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, no matter how humble our beginnings, no matter our ancestry, no matter when we arrived on these shores. In Atlanta, a wave is building. The kind of wave that comes once a generation, when people have been pushed too far and they decide all at once, all together, that enough is enough. I think every day about Congressman Lewis. And his portrait hangs right above my desk in my Senate office. In his final years, he kept reminding us that we all live in one American house, that we all live in one world house. John Lewis called it the inevitable truth that we're all members of one human family. And I know many of you are here because you're so deeply troubled by the pain so many of our fellow human beings are enduring right now. The terror of a child watching ICE take away his mother. The despair of a cancer patient losing coverage mid-treatment. The silent panic of a grandma when she sees the receipt for her groceries with 3 weeks left until her next Social Security check. Now, maybe they don't care in the White House or in the governor's mansion, but that ache in your heart, that pit in your stomach, that's what reminds us we're all in this together. That we're not just one United States, we're one united people, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. That we're bound together by the same great national spirit that passed civil rights laws, that defeated fascism, that landed men on the moon. And see, this is what small men like Donald Trump and Mike Collins will never understand. That our national greatness flows not through our blood or our genes, but through our ideas and through our care for one another. How amazing is it that the most powerful nation on earth proclaims as its core values that all are created equal, with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, no matter how humble our beginnings, no matter our ancestry, or when we arrived on these shores. Americans aren't a race, we're a people. United not by ethnicity, but by shared convictions, and that is what makes us exceptional and a beacon to the world. Just think, 250 years on, what the founders would see if they visited us today. But wait, they would see that slavery had been abolished. They would see that Americans without land and then women's and then the descendants of slaves had secured voting rights. They would see that our science and discovery propelled human knowledge to unimaginable heights, and that those 13 colonies had grown into a superpower that defeated the Nazis and communism. They'd see a pluralist democracy, people of all colors descended from every point on earth, stitched together out of many nations into one. So here we are in Georgia, where the president sent spies and agents to seize your ballots. Did you all see that, Beulah? Yeah. And why did they go to Fulton County? Why Fulton County? I submit to you it's because the fact that black voters and black political power were instrumental to his defeat is even more offensive to this lifelong racist than the defeat itself. The election deniers. They tell a lie so absurd and therefore so debasing to tell that the act of telling it proves the teller's total and humiliating submission. Right. And you may have seen that one of those election deniers now asks to represent Georgia in the Senate. The congressman's son, who supports war and cutting your health care and openly associates himself with bigotry and anti-Semitism, who defends the violent mob that sacked the Capitol on the morning of January 6th, 2021. Do you remember that morning, Beulah? To this day, this man makes excuses for those who carried out an attack to throw out your votes and install a defeated president. Right. But Beulah, he forgets your power. He forgets your power. Because not only did their attack on the Capitol fail, it was early that same morning, 5 years ago, that the state of Georgia shocked the world and sent to the Senate the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church. The same morning.
Election this year. Governor, it's good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Thanks. What's your message for Arizona voters tonight?
Look, there is a lot at stake in this election. It's a choice between Arizona First leadership and Washington-style chaos. And my very likely opponent after tonight is going to be Andy Biggs, who, as you've already described, is an election denier, who not only is an ally of Trump and refuses to acknowledge the results of the 2020 election, but he went so far as to help plan January 6th. He also helped orchestrate the fake elector scheme that went on here in Arizona. He has sought a presidential pardon for his role and ultimately defied a congressional subpoena. Now, here is what that means. Arizona is one of 7 swing states that will decide the presidential election. And as you described, in 2020, we had a free and fair election because as Secretary of State, I defended the will of the voters. If Andy Biggs is governor, Arizona is the first swing state with an election denier in charge. And the time to stop that is not 2028. It is right now. And folks can help me do that by going to katiehobbs.org.
You have mentioned Andy Biggs' role in that 2020 election denialism. We have not yet made a projection here at MS Now, but as soon as we do, we're going to bring it to our viewers. And I want to ask in that vein that, the president continues to make these false claims. The speech last Thursday was like a blast from the past about the 2020 election, despite there being no evidence at all of widespread voter fraud. 6 years later, how does that continue to affect voters in Arizona and the machinery of democracy in Arizona?
Well, look, there continue to be actors who are trying to sow doubt in the integrity of our elections. But I know that elections in Arizona are secure and they are run by dedicated professionals who know what they're doing. And I have confidence in our elections. I'm going to do everything I can as governor to make sure that every eligible Arizonan can participate. And we're watching potential threats or things that might happen from great federal overreach and interference. But Arizonans are ready to move on from this. They're certainly not thinking about the 2020 election. They're thinking about the fact that Washington's cost hiking agenda is making everything cost more: housing, groceries, gas, healthcare. And my likely opponent has championed this agenda, continues to double down on it. And I don't think Arizonans can trust him to fix the problems that he caused.
If there was one message that echoed throughout this speech, it was that the battle over America's future is no longer being framed as just another election. Instead, it is being presented as a debate over the country's identity, democratic institutions, and the values that define the United States. The speakers repeatedly returned to themes of unity, equality, voting rights, and public trust, arguing that these principles are central to the nation's future. Their critics, however, would likely argue that the speech was also deeply political, using those themes to draw sharp contrasts with former President Donald Trump and his allies. One of the strongest moments of the speech came when the speaker argued that America's strength comes from its ideas rather than race, ancestry, or ethnicity. He described the United States as a nation united by shared principles instead of shared bloodlines, echoing ideals found in the Declaration of Independence and America's civic traditions. That message was met with enthusiastic applause from the audience, reflecting how powerful this type of language remains in American politics. The speech also focused heavily on empathy and shared responsibility. References to immigrant families, cancer patients, seniors living on Social Security, and working-class Americans were used to emphasize the idea that government policies have real consequences for everyday people. Whether listeners agree with that political framing or not, the speaker's strategy was clear: connect policy debates to personal stories and remind voters that politics ultimately affects families, communities, and individual lives. Another major theme was the future of American democracy. The speaker argued that voting rights, fair elections, and public participation remain essential pillars of the country's political system. He criticized election denialism and warned against efforts that, in his view, could weaken confidence in elections. Supporters of that message see it as defending democratic institutions. Critics, on the other hand, often argue that raising questions about election administration or security can also be a legitimate part of public debate when based on evidence and pursued through lawful processes. These competing perspectives continue to shape political discourse across the country. The discussion then shifted to Georgia and Arizona, two states that have become some of the most closely watched battlegrounds in modern American politics. Speakers argued that these states demonstrated how candidate quality, campaign messaging, and voter turnout can influence election outcomes. They suggested that success in competitive states often depends not only on party affiliation, but also on how effectively candidates connect with independent and swing voters. Political analysts from across the spectrum have long pointed to these states as examples of how rapidly changing demographics and voter coalitions can reshape electoral maps over time. The transcript also emphasized the importance of confidence in election administration. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs argued that elections in her state are administered by dedicated professionals and defended the integrity of the state's election system while expressing concern about threats directed toward election workers. Those comments reflect an ongoing national conversation about balancing public confidence, election security, and the safety of those who administer elections.